Hello, today I'm starting a new series, Mercury Conjunctions. Now, Mercury is really, really important planet in the world we're living in at the moment. However, we are actually stepping into a different period soon. So this is very much to do with now. And the more spiritual side of the world is coming in. So things will change and we will go into more of Jupiterian time. So let's talk about let's talk about Mercury. And so Mercury is the prince. We have the sun, the king, queen is obviously moon, and this is their child, which is Mercury. Mercury in the natural zodiac rules, which is from Aries, rules third house, which is Gemini, and sixth house, which is Virgo. And I'm going to go through these two houses just briefly for those of you who are new to astrology. And I know it's a little bit boring for people who know, but third house is obviously rules hands, fingers, arms, and top of your shoulders. And it's also your throat chakra. Mercury rules your throat chakra. And so sixth house is stomach, digestion, like it's not just digestion of food, but it's also digestion of information, what we watch, what we hear, all of that, and what we see. It's all digesting information. So that's literally what what it's all about. Now, Mercury itself rules speech, rules the nervous system, rules your skin, and rule also allergies. Any form of allergy is to do with Mercury. Mercury is neuter in a sense. It's neither female or male. It's just like it's basically dependent on the house that it's sitting in, the sign that it's sitting in, and the influence that it has. It changes because it's the baby of the zodiac, and it rules Upachaya houses, third and sixth house, so they get better with time. Wherever Mercury sits, because it's obviously rules adolescents and children and young people. So wherever it sits in your chart, you are not obviously with everything to do with life we have to learn, but wherever Mercury is, we have to learn even more about it, if you like. And just like children, Mercury is very flexible with information, because what happens with all of us when we are young, we are much more open to things. We have our pineal gland working. We don't really see color in people, religion. We don't think about their belief systems. We accept everyone. So in a sense, like we don't really think, oh, I don't like this music or that person or anything like that. That's not how we work as a child. We actually, our environment, our conditioning, our parents, our schools, everything sort of shapes us, if you like. So anyway, yeah. So this is like this is the reason why they say wherever Mercury sits, it can. If it's sitting with benefics, it will be benefic. It'll act like a benefic. But if it's in sitting with malefics, it'll be malefic. So, for example, Mercury sitting with Venus will be very different to Mercury sitting with Mars. For one thing, one is friendly with her, the other one is enemy with her. And also, say, for example, as a young child, if you hang around with kids who are troublemakers, you are likely to be conditioned to be like them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you are like them, but you can be conditioned to be like that. Similarly, if you are with people who are quite Jupiterian, quite forward-looking and quite, optimistic and all of that, that is how Mercury is going to function. So it's very changeable, and therefore, as you can see that whatever house we're sitting in, we're a little bit immature about we think we know it, but actually we have to learn a lot more about it too. But Mercury in today's world, it's so, so important. So I'm just going to go through some of the indications. I haven't really made many notes, so I'm just going to, hopefully everything will come to me. I'm wearing green to honor it, and I'm going to publish this on a Wednesday, which is a day that's ruled by Mercury. It rules emeralds, it rules nature, it rules anything green, plants, it rules fast food, because obviously it's a fast moving planet. So Mercury, as I said, rules third and sixth house of natural zodiac. It's friendly with the sun, very, very good friends with Venus. And it's also, although some, I would say friendly towards Saturn, although it can be a little bit like Saturn, if you're sitting with Mercury, can really just drain it. And it's also, Rahu works well in Mercury signs, although I would probably say Rahu is a trickster, can make us tell lies. So if it's with planet of speech, we're more likely to be like fibbing. I'm not saying lying, just fibbing little white lies, things like that. But obviously it's got to be quite, Mercury, it is a malefic really. So, but it's also multi-talented. There are so many things that are ruled by Mercury. It's absolutely incredible. So let's make a start. So obviously it rules third house. So communication, this is exactly what I'm doing now. So it rules all of those things, everything to do with emails, texting, messaging, all social media, all mainstream media, newspapers, journalism, broadcasting. Crikey, what is it that it doesn't do? It rules travel. It rules movement, literally, because you're born first house, Aries, second house, family. When you get in the nurture of the family, third house, you start moving. It rules kind of also third house, also friends, colleagues, siblings. So this is the very first time you start like arguing with them, right? This is my toy. How you speak, how you get brave, how you get courageous and fight your corner. You express yourself. You're hot, you're cold, you're tired, all of those things. And it's Mercury rules students, young people, rules friends, mates, pals, teamwork, rules, as I said, neighbors, rules neighborhoods, what else? Rules commerce, stock market, money, currency. And obviously dollar notes are green, so it's very, very Mercury. Rules all forms of information, data, like if you can get like if you wanted to sort of like ask your government for like freedom of information, that's it. So it's all of that data is actually Mercury. Mercury is in everything. So you buy like for example, say if you buy like a vacuum cleaner, it's instruction books is Mercury. Learning is Mercury. Courses, skills, days out, picnics, cinema, singing, dancing, music, learning music, playing music, partying, all of those things are all Mercury and all third house. Making things with your hands is your dexterity is also Mercury. Mercury rules herbs. So herbal, Ayurvedic, healing things, all sixth house. So this is again Mercury. Reiki, massage, personal training, exercise, yoga. What else? Oh my God, there's so many things that it rules. Recipes, when you're cooking, recipes. Bringing people into your groups and teams and all of those things. It's also sixth house of competition is also to do with that as well. It's basically your ability to work things out. So like, you get a puzzle in front of you as a kid and you see the space that is empty and you're trying to match the shapes of toys to that. And so ability to work that out is and that as we grow older as well. So obviously, we could have like a cryptic puzzle, crosswords, all of those are. So it's also entertainment of whatever we are interested in. So whether it's YouTube, learning, or watching Netflix, all of those things are all to do with Mercury. Mercury is the organizer, and is practical, is intellectual. It's not intelligence. Intelligence is the sun, and it's not logical. That is Mars. So your how you organize yourself. This is also very much from the very moment you wake up. How do you organize yourself? I have to say, last 2.5 years, I just have not been able to. It just seems to take me longer and longer to get myself sorted, because there's so much information going on, and I want to be really in, because of the other jobs that I do, I need to be in the know. So it's just taking me longer and longer to get these videos done and actually fit them in, and everything has been really trying. I'm also doing mercurial things, in the sense that I'm doing gardening, growing vegetables and herbs. I'm making my own potions and lotions and things. So that's all Mercury. Mercury is commerce, merchandising, displays in the shops, all of those wonderful things that you see for festivities, Christmas or carnivals and things like that. They're all to do with display. So it attracts the eye because we're taking information in. That kind of thing. And obviously the worst thing of all is when we are on our mobiles. I mean, I've deleted all the big apps now. I mean, my phone is literally so old anyway, but it's got no ability to have any form of apps on there. So all of those things are obviously graphic design, marketing, things like that. They're all to do with Mercury. And obviously Mercury is quite fickle, so this is how you can get yourself into trouble, because you could be like on Facebook. Oh God, I've had to delete everything. I am not actually dealing with any big companies, although I deal with YouTube and Zoom obviously at the moment. So, but generally speaking, you get trapped into that. So they trick you into like, you're watching something, and because they're listening to your conversation, that advertising comes in. Before you know it, you bought something from Amazon, you bought something else from Amazon, that leads you to another one, and before you know it, you got all these things that you don't need. And so it's very impulsive because it is young, and also that's Rahu as well, but it is also Mercury. And partying, picnicking, organizing barbecues, days out at the beach, going to the zoo, pets, rescue animals, all of those things are to do with sixth house as well. Sixth house is also work. So how do you get yourself organized in the morning? So you get up, you exercise, eat, shower, and get yourself organized, so you leave in time to get to work in time. That's all Mercury. How you then organize yourself at work in order to meet your deadlines, that's Mercury. Working with others, trying to get on with others, create teamwork, that's also Mercury. Mercury is also practical, so it's going to be like a really strong. Mercury knows how to gain information, how to utilize information, what's good. It uses a lot of discernment, so it's quite clever, quite good in the sense, also it's green, so it's envy and jealousy is Mercury. So it could be like you. I mean, obviously I've got the green on today, so, and this is when you see that you realize that every planet has got a real negative side to it. So with Mercury, it could be very much about like noticing other, because it rules sixth house of critical, and it doesn't miss detail, is sixth house. And obviously sixth house of natural zodiac is Virgo. Is an earth sign. It's all to do with money, and it's very materialistic. So it's noticing what somebody else has and you haven't. And so it can, this is something that you've got to realize also, that particularly Mercury, when it is in earth signs, it's very materialistic. So they've got a new car, you notice that. Like your friend has got a new pair of earrings or something, you notice that. So they're very like, oh yeah, I noticed that. It's also like that if planets that are in Mercury nakshatras, which rules Ashlesha, Jyeshta, and Revati. Revati not so much, but definitely, you know, I'm saying not so much, it doesn't mean, but you know, Mercury nakshatras could be a little bit like that, where they're a little bit like you notice things and it's like, oh, I wish, you know, they're gone on holiday, I wish I could have done that. So just be careful, because you don't want to create like negative energy for yourself. So never send it out. You know, when you say something to somebody, make sure it doesn't have a double meaning. So always protect your karmas. You know, you're intelligent, you're doing astrology, so you want to just like make your own life better. But you know, like when some people give you you know, double-edged, like they don't really mean it, so they just give you a compliment, but it's like a backhanded one. So you know, all of us know, we know that we don't want something like that, because they don't really mean it. So but actually what they do, these people, they make it harder for themselves. And inevitably we all have a sixth house, and sixth house is obviously is how you see that jealousy, and it's enemies as well. But we know them because sixth house is like an open house, so we actually notice and feel the energy that is negative, whereas eighth house and 12th house are secret enemies. We don't know that, they're just like doing all, it's like a little bit like voodoo-ish, you know, bad black energy. But all of that, all it does, it traps that person in that negative thing. So I think it's always good to just let it go, you know, because we all have these earth signs in our chart. We all have Mercury nakshatras in our chart, so we can't really say that, oh, but I'm not like that. We can all, there's always going to be a situation where we can be like that. So we just have to, as spiritual souls who are awakened and want to just like have the better life, you know, when you see that and you feel really bad, just, you know, like you send those bad energies away and just protect yourself, and just send love to other people, because you don't really know what they're going through. You know, they could all be smiley, and that's not really necessarily how their life is. So what else? Okay, so I said, you know, obviously Mercury rules, it's like Jupiter, it's really good for first house. So gets directional strength in the first house of the chart. So if it's in the ascendant, whether it's in D1 or any other of your subcharts, then that subchart you have massive focus on. Also works really well in the eighth house. That is one house that I can truly say the only planet that works really well in the eighth house is Mercury. So if you have it in your chart already, or one of your subcharts, or you're going to go through a period, planetary period, where Mercury is in your eighth house, I'm going through that right now. I'm loving it. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, brilliant. And actually, you know, if you know, if Mercury is also in, so despite all the difficulties that I've been through, I am just making the most of this sub period, because sub period of Mercury for me has just literally, that's what it's done. It's brought in the astrology that I've been studying for years. It's just made me want to share that with others. You know, it's like a free gift to the world, you know, write off some of my karma, even though I seem to be so ill. So I don't know, maybe like he's creating some issues along the way as well. But anyway, it's other people's issues. So you just got to just be open-hearted, don't you? And yeah, so if you have that in any subchart, happy days, that's brilliant. In one of the chart that having eighth house Mercury is fantastic, whether it is naturally in there or in a dasha, is when you get it in your D11 Aya. I don't mean the normal one, I mean the Aya, when, you know, Sage Aya has, Aya is Iyer. If you get it in that one and Mercury is in the eighth house, you could suddenly gain. Now that gain, it could be monetary, it's normally is. However, it could also be gain of knowledge, it could be gain of great friends, because obviously rules friends, gain of information that's important, gain of like lots of travel, a great job, all of that things. So all of those, you know, groups that can help you, is amazing. So it also only has only aspects 7 houses opposite house, that's it. So so blesses it's a benefic anyway, but it's if by association it is sitting with the malefic, and malefics are Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, then there is a difficulty there. And it's also not very good with Jupiter. Jupiter and Mercury are not very good. So you will notice that if you got Mercury in Jupiter signs or Jupiter nakshatras, which is Purnavasu, Vishaka, and also Purva Bhadrapada, Mercury doesn't do very well at all in these. And what it does, it just expands the person's mind and thinking process and learning. And it's very difficult to consolidate all that learning. So yeah, and it just really focusescapes the person for a while. If you've got a Mercury which is debilitated, don't worry, because you also need to know whether or not what the condition is in your D9. That is really what is going on, not necessarily D1. And the Navamsha chart, if if you find that it's in a strong position, then that is, sometimes when they're debilitated, they can be exalted in the Navamsha. But just check that, because this is the reason why it's very important to know to the minute when you were born. And what else? So the other thing is as well, it's also Mercury is in certain houses gives you wonderful ability. So as I said, 8th house and 1st house. 6th house is good as well, because obviously it's going to help you organize things, because Mercury is really good at working at obstacles of life and how to tackle those and get over those issues with using your intellect, being practical, and just like getting the timings right, getting the cooperation that you need in order to do things well. And Mercury, because it's a planet that likes to get on with other people, work with other people, is it can give you many what do you call it? It's a merchant, so you can actually get on with anyone. And so Mercury, as I said, is speech. When it's aspected by Rahu, or if it's in the 12th house or has got 12th house Lord aspect or something like that, it can actually, if it's in a good condition, it can really help you learn languages very quickly and just work out really sort of things to do with space, with astronomy, with other realms, with mysterious things. So amazing. It's got so many facets to it, really. It's unbelievable. And sometimes though, when Mercury is overly strong, where it's like in quite rigid signs and things, it can be too left-brained. So it could just be like, it could be just far too intellectual to actually really see the spiritual side of life. This is what, this is some of the reason why we've struggled because the world is so Rahu, so Mercury. And but obviously things to do with the source, with spiritual growth, awakening, like the other realms, and just being connected, psychic things. If they can't see it, they can't believe it. So they're really a little bit stuck in a 3D world, really, where, oh, well, prove it to me. And even if you prove it to them, if it's not in an intellectual manner, they really struggle with that. They just like, I don't know, it doesn't sit with them very well. So there is this issue there as well. So it's worth knowing that too. And what else do I want to say? So I already told you the planets that is, it works well with. One of the things is also that Mercury is obviously, when you are like Gemini Ascendant or Virgo Ascendant, what happens is Jupiter is in your 7th house. So this is why sometimes, this is what they call the Badak house for them, because what happens is for the dual signs, their 7th house or 7th lord can give them troubles. We all have that, so it's not just necessarily just them, but this is just for Gemini and Virgo Ascendant. So they have some obstacles to get through to learn about, like relationships, business relationship, partnerships and things like that. And so yeah, so that's the you know, because they are attracted to somebody who is very like spiritual and thinking like, you know, the big picture, whereas they are stuck very much in the detail, like particularly Virgo, in the small detail, and they can't see how everything in the big you know, big picture is going to work out if the little detail is wrong. So they could be a little bit stuck with detail too, particularly Virgo ascendant. So but yeah, so this is why there are some challenges there, whereas Jupiter wants to see the big picture, and they attracted to people. I mean, this is how the balance in the world is really, but they're just thinking, oh, I'm reading all this classical, you know, information, and there she is, or he is, you know, on his social media, like uh, doing this and that. So, you know, and like the Geminis particularly like the gossipy columns and things like that. And yeah, so it's a little bit like two worlds apart, but that's how they balance each other out too. Anyway, I'm going to just kind of bring this to an end now. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, I will add it in another video, but let's start. I'm going to start with Mercury Sun together, because Mercury is a very fast moving planet, so as a result can be a bit fickle. It rules gay people as well, and it is also comedic. It's got fantastic timing. It's full of one-liners. It can mimic anything. It's all to do with copying, any printing, copying of anything. Is all of that. All jobs that are clerical are ruled um, by Mercury. Taxi drivers which travel short distances, short distance travel is ruled by them. They are also mercurial, because they do like small chat, you know, social butterflies, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's start the ascendants. Thank you very much. Okay, I just came across some other notes about Mercury, so I thought I'd just put them in as well. So obviously Mercury rules internet, rules gaming, all sorts of gambling and things like that as well. It can be to do with Rahu, Mercury, but Mercury is all the entertainment places where we go to have fun, whether it's like ski slopes, indoor skiing, indoor sort of skating, all of those things have got things to do with Mercury. Mercury is also the editor too. So when you actually go through your, I don't know, say, apologies, so you write an essay and you go through it, that's also like Mercury editing, taking things out, or even editor or newspaper is ruled. They're all ruled by Mercury. It's our talents, how we learning by repetition, because it's copying. So it learns through repeating, you know, learning. It's very factual, and this is the reason why it can kind of question certain belief systems. I can't see it, so it doesn't exist, that kind of thing. So this is why there's a problem between Mercury and Jupiter, because one is just like, doesn't need to see it. It can feel God. It can feel the, you know, it can walk on grass and feel Mother Nature. You know, that's just like they are connected. They can receive downloads and things more easily, those people who are with higher realm. But whereas if you're stuck too much in the can't see it, so it doesn't exist, so it's just a lot more limited in that sense. It's ideas and social ability. Sun, Mercury, very bright. I just got actually a few notes that are from many years ago, so I thought I'd just share them with you as well. It's like Mercury Rahu can give you, because obviously Mercury is what you call skin, can give you acne. Mercury Mars can give you inflammation, eczema, that kind of thing. Mercury Saturn can give dark patches on your skin. Mercury Sun can give you sunburn, but it's the person will be very bright as a button, you know, particularly if Mercury is not combust. And so let's see. Okay. So in the first house, this is like, obviously Mercury is chatting. If they go in the first house, they like to talk about themselves. Mercury in the second house like to talk about money, food, family. Third house like to talk about siblings and friends. Fourth house like to talk about land, property, mum, talking with mum. Fifth house like to love life and poems, poetry, and Sixth house likes to talk about work and nutrition. Seventh house likes to talk about love. Eighth house loves to talk about death, sex, siblings, taboo stuff. Ninth house talks about religion and belief system. 10th house likes to talk about work. 11th house likes to talk about friends and networks. 12th house likes to talk about bed pleasures. It's hilarious. Okay, so careers that, you know, what kind of things? It can be so many things. It can be scientists. It could be curious about, you know, skilled, talented, quick wit, jack of all trades. So obviously this is not careers. This is just all things about Mercury. It can be I'll put calculator. Calculators are ruled by Mercury. It's obviously a communicator, follower of the rules. If it's in bad dignity with Rahu, it can be a thief or you know, tell fibs. It doesn't necessarily have to be really, really bad and bend the rules. It can also be an eternal student. It's a great researcher, helpful, mediator, versatile, realist, friends, connections, sense of humor, loves knowledge, juggles things, especially with Swati Nakshatra. It's a realist and no harsh opinions if not involved with Mars. So Mars makes it that way. Obviously, and I've written like things about speech therapy, can be one of the jobs that they do. Mercury helps us manage our life. They make good astrologers, astronomers with Rahu. Even a Kendra of Jupiter, great for knowledge and colleges. He rules post office stamps, stamp collecting. Anything you collect is ruled by Mercury. And rules lungs, nose, hips, autism, ADHD, anything green, helpful. Already said that. Non-threatening, rules animal kingdom. And what else got here? It's your dexterity. Mercury in the second house of D4 will be good, obviously, because for property and things. Likes writing, marketing and networking, information technology, particularly with Mars or Rahu, sculpting, hand skills, philosophy as is practical. Jupiter will be more spiritual philosophy. Youth, childhood behavior. If you know it rules you, you look younger. Plastic surgery as somebody wants youth. Plastic surgeon is Mars. It's pretty amazing. Behavior of bird, as they move a lot like birds. So amazing. Mercury rules obviously matures at 32, so it takes the houses. You get fruits more as it gets older. It rules herbs, pizza. It's a bridge between inside and out. It's Karaka of acting, dancing, and writing. Allergies is analyzes things, intellect, education, learning, and additional learnings that we take later. It's a client, trade, business, aunts and uncles, and grandfather, maternal side, younger siblings, and acid. Okay, let's see what else we have. This is so much fun because I've seen these things for years. So Mercury transiting your natal Mercury element every 6 years is a pivotal time. Oh, so yeah, so if you know, so that's amazing because it happens every 6 years. It goes into where it was when you were born. So yeah. And each elemental return, you refine another subtle part of your life, self-development. That's definitely Mercury. Mercury ahead of the Sun is the more superior conjunction. So rather than the other way around, Sun ahead, yeah, as long as it's not combust. So what else do we have? It's obviously, I said it's trickster, i.e. Mercury retrograde in Aries. Something new, because obviously it's a pioneering sign, Aries. Mercury retrograde for transformation. Okay, Mercury retrograde can be expressive by means of writing, alchemy, magic, connections. Gambling as is 5th house, so 3rd house is habits. So Mercury, messenger of God, whatever house it's in, messenger of that house. Mercury in Aquarius, evolution and consciousness, alignment with others, intellectual evolution. Mercury equals spread of the message, throat chakra. Mercury in Pisces is more intuitive, spiritual, and less to do with kind of practicality. So it's like spiritual intellect. So combust Mercury means we need to learn to ask for what we want. If Mercury's 7th lord in the D9, intelligent partner, fickle-minded, unpredictable, somehow younger. Mercury does not do well in Jupiter signs. Obviously, we know that. Mercury and K2, great placement for acting illusion. Mercury rules environment, schools, young people's school. I said that already. Friends, thinking. 3rd house is thinking. Mercury is in 3rd house, chatterbox. In Libra, this is a great platform for them because of other people, you see. Mercury and Saturn, indication towards skin issues, disease, or Mercury in Capricorn, melasma, pigmentation. It's in friendly sign as well, so it's always give and take these things. Right, so that's it. A few other things. Mercury retrograde, actually, these people always go back on what they say. They constantly going back and reviewing, revising, reassessing what they've said. But, you know, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. It's not such a bad thing, because if Mercury is too strong, we just can be like chatterboxes, like, look at my video, how long it has been. So this is like tribute to Mercury. Anyway, guys, have a lovely time, a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. K2, Rahu are, or north and south node of the moon, are shadow planets. So it's very confusing on some of the texts that I've read or that I've been taught. Basically, they say that they do not really, they don't exist. It's just like a shadow. So in that case, they don't really rule a house, and they just work like an extension of their dispositor. So for example, if they're in Aries, Rahu in Aries will act like Mars. K2 in, say, Leo works like the sun. So you have to look at where their dispositor is. However, I mean, obviously, I honor all my teachers, and I've studied with different people. To me, although some of them, Mark Boney was my first teacher as such in this, and I take Rahu K2 as being Rahu exalted in Taurus, K2 exalted in Scorpio, and the opposite way. So K2 in Taurus will be debilitated, and Rahu in Scorpio will be debilitated. So that's how I take it. But Rahu works well in Mercury signs, Virgo and Gemini, and K2 does well in Jupiter signs. So this is what I take. But for every ascendant, I always take them as co-rulers. For Rahu is a co-ruler of Aquarius with Saturn, and K2 co-ruler of Scorpio with Mars. So depending on what your ascendant is, that's how I use it. So for example, for Aquarius Ascendant, Rahu will be first house ruler together with Saturn, and K2 will be 10th house ruler with Mars. That's how I work it. Hello, this video is about the conjunction of Mercury and Rahu, which is the north node of the moon. So these two planets actually work quite well together, as long as there are boundaries in place. Otherwise, it can be a little bit difficult. But I think If the person who has this, they understand astrology, understand they have a lot of free will, or their sun or ascendant, even moon, is strong, then it's absolutely can be used to their benefit in a big way. And when I say this, because Rahu can give you so much if only you are in control of Rahu and not Rahu in control of you. So let's commence, because I've made quite a lot of notes, and I also found that quite a lot of previous notes that I had made. So very interesting. So this is a planet of obsession, greed. It's insatiable. It's planet of smoke. So it's a shadow planet. It doesn't really exist. It's just like Rahu, Ketu. They don't exist. They're shadow planets. But what they are, they make us reincarnate to deal with certain things in life, what we want to achieve, and areas of life we want to actually, just delve into this lifetime. Rules success, materialism, capitalism, excess in all things, whether it's food, sex, money, technology, fame, success. Makes people obviously very rich, ultra fame. It can do that to people, but it's going to be at a high price. So you've got to realize that extreme success, unless if the person is highly spiritual, has got really good family supporting them, they've got strong, they can get a strong ascendant, strong morals, strong Jupiter in their chart, then they can really achieve that and use it for the best. If not, it can really tie you up in lots of knots. So we don't want to do that. And then you have all this karma to pay off. So this is a problem with Rahu. It can actually make you reincarnate because you have done bad things to people, and all that kind of stuff. So bad karma. It's obviously everything foreign is going to be Rahu. And so it could be unusual, eclectic, chic. It's got magnetism, sexiness, indulgent. And it's basically, how I would describe it, is like, I want. Never satisfied. It's an illusion. It's kind of other places, other realms, aliens, outworlders, ETs, non-terrestrials, the unknown, astronauts, just like space travel, really. Not places not yet discovered, or things we've not yet discovered. We don't know all the things about it. It's somehow foreign to us. Obviously, it rules space travel and the cosmos and universe, all those kind of unusual places, if you like. Also, space travel, time travel, teleportation, co-rules Aquarius with Saturn. So you can see that's very much like to do with technology, really unusual technology at that, really. And we are actually going to be experiencing quite a lot of Rahu, because Rahu is also now in the skies. Is going to be in well, it is in Aries. It's going to be there for quite a long time, for just under a year and a half. So we're going to see all these things happening, and then again it's going to be like all those hidden things that have been kept secret from us. They're going to keep coming out as well, about space and all of that too. So it's going to be quite interesting times ahead. I'm really looking forward to it, because I feel as though all those things we've seen in cartoons and films, they're available, but they're not available to us. So like cars, flying cars, all that kind of stuff, like levitation, using the magnetism of Earth to do wonderful things, using the electromagnetic fields for. Anyway, let's not go into things. So it's okay. So there is, because it's a shadow planet, it doesn't exist, so it can't possibly be exalted or debilitated. It must depend on its dispositor. However, in some of the texts, it says it's exalted in Taurus and debilitated in Scorpio, and that's what I learned from my first teacher, Mark Boney. And my other teacher, Charla, who actually I learned other things from, she thought that it's actually exalted or does well in Mercury signs. So I'm going to give you both and you just decide, because remember, nothing is concrete. You just use what works best for you. So you can use your own discernment. Always check the dispositor, because shadow planets can give Raja Yogas for all of us. So if depending on what sign they what house and what house they rule for you, so don't ever dismiss them. So for me, I would say for the natural zodiac, Rahu rules 11th house of gains, wealth, all that kind of like achievement, success, that kind of thing. So it also rules drugs, alcohol, tobacco. It rules sunglasses, anything that blocks, basically. It's like a cloud atmosphere, skyscrapers, rules all kind of taboo things as well, like the sex trade, etc. It's basically another caste to what you're born into. I don't really like that kind of caste system, but hey ho. Rules inventors, scientists, and ghosts. It's a snake catcher. It's kind of rules pathogens and bugs, cemeteries, and aspects of 5th and 9th from self, because obviously in the 7th will be K2. It's got no body, it's just a head. So it's can't digest anything, it just wants what it sees it wants. So this is the reason why we can get ourselves into 12th house stuff with it, because it can drink, but it doesn't know if it's drunk or it's had enough. It can eat and eat and eat and eat like that too, and it could just be overly sexual, overly sensual, doesn't really know if it's in bad condition, it's got no boundaries placed. So it rules magicians, it rules addictions, virtual reality, anything digital, software, future karma. It's a rebel, it's an outlaw, it's a shortcut to anything. It rules thieves, robbers, cheats. It rules fame, as I said, but glamour. It rules psychopaths. It's any surprise, rags to riches, but it can also be riches to rags. And I'll put that again, want. And so yeah, it's an illusion basically. It's trickery, it's fog deception, and it could be criminal as well. So, and it's also desire, next generations. It definitely helps you gain your material wishes and desires, really. So it rules the nakshatras that it rules. One of them is actually Shatabisha in Aquarius, and also rules Ardra and also Swati. Swati is really good for intentions, and I actually think today is the 4th of August. Tomorrow it's 5th of August is actually one of the days for putting your intentions out. So anyway, those are all about Rahu. So Rahu and Mercury, when they get together, this is planet of speech and friends, fun, creativity, self-expression, etc. So you can imagine that what happens is it kind of like overly exaggerates that. So because it's a planet of exaggeration, so it just like makes everything even more expansive, more magnified, etc. So naturally, planet of chattiness sitting with planet of magnification is going to be somebody who's very chatty. If Mercury is in a good situation, then the person is going to be witty, is going to be funny, great sense of fun, great sense of humor. It can be quite comedic. It can be obviously immature, because Rahu is what we don't know, And Mercury is a child, is a mature planet. So this is the reason the two houses that it rules, they get better with time. So hence the reason why it's there can be this issue that there's no boundaries. So they can be really funny, but the fun is turned on all the time, and it's just really difficult because they can be a little bit the clown of the crowd too, the clown of the friends. So you really enjoy their time, but if there's lack of boundaries within the person. So if, as I said, if the ascendant or sun or something is not strong, then they can actually like take over and not let anybody come in. Everything is a joke, nothing is taken seriously. So for relationships can be very difficult because you're actually marrying a child, and the child that can't actually just like doesn't realize, what, you're not funny anymore. You were funny then, but and they can also, because Rahu is a trickster, they can start taking the mickey out of people and be very inappropriate, so it could really create enemies, because Mercury rules sixth house, so it can create enemies in that sense, and many enemies in that, but they could also be like clown-like. So for children's parties, being an uncle, an aunt, and with if as a young father, they could be amazing because they could be so funny and just humorous. They can just have a great sense of fun. So this is where you really got to just, if this is you got to really sort of sense, and when you feel as though, let somebody else have the stage. You don't have to always talk, because they can be overly chatty in this situation. And obviously, because Rahu is also a trickster, they could tell white lies. They could, fibs, because they're also this is a trickster. They could be unreliable as well because of that, because Rahu is obviously it's area of life that we're learning about. So they can be like, oh yeah, let's do that, and they can promise a lot of things and deliver absolutely nothing too. So remember that also happens if it's with the sun, Rahu with the sun, or Rahu 10 houses from the sun. I've got a video about that. Any female who has a partner like that, they should know about it. And if you're a gentleman who has this, please, just be truthful to your ladies and really respect the fact that, if you're not serious about them, at the beginning, they probably don't really know they're doing that, but, it can really collect bad karma, and it can really break the person's heart. So just be aware of that. It's not too bad in a woman's chart, really. So, but obviously they're attracted to that kind of energy. So yeah, overly chatting, overly like cracking jokes, but they have really good timing. If it's in Saturn signs, they could have black comedy. They could have that dark sense of humor too, which is, again, it can be funny at times. But if they constantly take the mickey out of you, they can, if they're digging into somebody, and they could attack. That's how they attack. Their word is their weapon, if you like. So you just got to be careful with that. So yeah, you don't want to create enemies by your speech, and creates phobias as well. I mean, the thing is, when you're doing these things and saying things, it can actually, a lot of times it could be nervousness, because people always think mind issues are all to do with the moon, but it's not. It's to do with Mercury as well, because Mercury is how we think, how we communicate. So when you say something that's cut into somebody and you upset people, and you probably feel the energy of them, and you feel as though, oh, I might have overstepped it. So you try to recover from it and actually get yourself deeper and deeper into problems. So it's very important to just know that you don't want to create enemies, because it creates bad energy for you. So just be aware of those things. Love yourself and don't let that sort of thing happen. It's really important not to ever give bad energy to anyone. That just always comes back on you and your loved ones. But on the positive side, because obviously Rahu works really well in Mercury signs. They're friendly towards each other, and also Rahu is friendly with Venus too. So in Venus and also in Mercury sign, they work really, really well. However, they don't really work in Mars signs, and Rahu doesn't really like Saturn, although co-rules Aquarius. So you know, in a sense, it also helps being in Saturn signs, because what it does slows everything down. But you know, it can be really bad for mind in a sense, because what it does, it gives you quite a lot. If they're very fearful, it could give you more of it as well, and it can be like they could be very fearful. They could have this like obsessive things. So you know, you got to judge the sign as well. Obviously, what it does, it can give you stammering or stuttering, Tourette's, unusual voice, or it can give you a really nice voice. It could be you could copy people's dialects, and it's quite funny when people do that. They tell jokes and they do like the Irish accent, or when I was going down there, that kind of thing. It's amazing. So when it is that can be really funny. So obviously there could be a linguist, because Rahu is foreign. They could travel a lot, because both planets are to do with travel, both about technology and futuristic technology to space travel. They be really all that kind of thing. They could also be if in the third house, they could be just like amazing, avid writers, avid readers, have fantastic imagination, particularly if the sign is really good for Mercury. Yeah, it'd be amazing. It would not do very well, as said, in Jupiter signs, because Mercury just gets really agitated being in Jupiter signs, or Mars. Both of those will create huge issues for them. So those are some of the things that I wanted to put down. But it is very, very important that to realize that if used properly, you could have fantastic sense of fun, very artistic. They'd be very good at, like, if it's in third house, they can literally look at something and make it. They'll have that amazing ability. They will be handy. They can fix things. They can work things out. Kind of a little bit like an engineer, really. So it could be like a electronic engineer, that sort of thing. Particularly if it's in Mars Nakshatra or something like that. So there are lots of good things. They'll be really good at around friends, organizing things, going to festivals, music thing. They could be very musical and learn lots and lots of musical instruments, and really have that wonderful ability to read, learn, and because it's a copying planet as well, they can watch something and learn and do it. They could be really, really amazing. And also Mercury's planet of practicality, compartmentalization, organization, managing things. So they could really be good managers of that sense as well, if it's to do with a good sign, that kind of thing. And if it is in the 10th house, both planets work really well in the sun, and it's an Upachaya house, which suits both of the planets. And if it is in a really good fixed sign, for example, if it is like in Aquarius, it will be amazing, really amazing, because it has got that kind of boundaries set. It's air element as well, to do with communication. And from there, it will activate also, say, Mercury's sign, which is Gemini, and the other one would be also Libra. So it will activate those. So they could be really easy to get on with. They have loads of friends. Socially, they could be very what do you call it? Very but they have loads and loads of friends, because this is also 11th house and natural zodiac. Both do really well in 11th house, because Mercury is naturally the friend planet anyway. So I think that's probably enough. So and obviously, remember, if they are in the first house, the person will be learning about themselves. Wherever Rahu is, be learning about that house. And what Mercury will have directional strength. So be focused and very intellectually kind of delivering things for themselves. So anyway, let's have a look at the ascendants. Thank you. Mercury and Rahu for ascendants. Okay. So for Aries Ascendant, Rahu rules, co-rules Aquarius, which is the 11th house, and Upachaya house, which means gets better the fruits of that sign with time. And unfortunately, Mercury rules third and sixth house, which is not a good planet for Aries. And you know, Aries can have these issues with good communications that can be a little bit direct with their communications, and that could cause them fallouts with friends and their network. So this could be like that situation. They could be like creating situations with their friends, with their speech, that creates enemies and kind of misunderstandings, if you like. So this, yeah, overly talking, overly like, but obviously what will happen is these people, particularly if it falls in any of those houses, like Gemini, Virgo or Aquarius, what will happen is that Mercury and Rahu does quite well in those signs. So it could be quite good. They'll be really good at managing. They learn with time how to manage themselves, to eat, you know, look after their health and well-being, and they'll be probably quite sporty too, quite, you know, good at travel, etc. And they learn how to use the right nutrition, because obviously that's all Mercury. Foods and health things to actually keep their body nice and healthy. So but otherwise it's not really going to create any good yogas or anything because of the situation. If it does go in the 12th or the 8th house, it could be like Mercury would create a Viparit Raj yoga. So that means through some hardships and difficulties, then they could actually get some fruits. And actually, although it's a difficult sign for both of the Rahu in the 8th house could be very obsessive about sex, and it can be really into very unusual things. So but they'd be really good at research. They'd be amazing researcher, amazing at getting to know all those secret things, that secret societies, maybe things like that. So right, next ascendant for Taurus Ascendant, this is 2nd and 5th house ruler, now with the 10th house. So this is going to be quite amazing. It creates wonderful yogas for them. If it goes into, like, for example, if it goes into the 5th house, that is, I mean, with the combination of two creates like really great situation. But if it goes into the 5th house, Mercury will be aspect in the 11th house. So that will be like 2nd house ruler aspect in the 11th house will be good for money. Although Katie will be there sort of like also, like spending it too. So you've got to be careful with that. But it'd be really good in the 2nd house, in the 5th house. It's also very good in the 10th house, because what will be this will be somebody, it could be a chef, it could be like somebody who deals with antiques, could be somebody who's educator, advisor, somebody who is in entertainment industry, something like that. It creates a wonderful done yoga, brings 10th and 5th house ruler. It'll be good in the 9th house too. That again, wonderful strong yogas. And if it's in the 5th or the 2nd house, it'd be a Bhadra yoga as well. So it's Mahapurusha yoga for success. So yeah, all in all, pretty good for those. Obviously you don't want it to go into the 6th house Libra, because that will spoil the fruits for them, but it's a good combination for them in that sense. And if it goes in the 2nd house, they would be consuming quite a lot of food. Okay, next ascendant, Gemini Ascendant. Okay, so for Gemini Ascendant, this brings together what will be 1st and 4th house ruler, and then also the 9th house ruler. So this is going to be really good for Raja Yoga, Dhan Yogas. It's going to be pretty amazing. And as long as it doesn't go into Pisces, obviously that's 10th house where Mercury will be debilitated, it'll be good. Like, obviously 1st house will be amazing, directional strength, own sign for Mercury. 4th house will be pretty good too. They could live abroad. It'll be really good in the 5th house too, because obviously if both friendly to, I probably would say that's one of the best ones really in that sense. And and the first house will be really, really good too. Don't particularly like Mercury in Jupiter signs, but it could also work quite well in the ninth house, although it gives you difficulties with the father. But yeah, so this is one of the good ones. You just don't want it to go into the sixth house and spoil any good fruits of those yogas, not in Scorpio. For unbelievable. Okay, for Cancer Ascendant, this is third and 12th house ruler Mercury, and it's with 8th house ruler. So this is going to create what we said before. So it's a Viparit Raj Yoga. So 8th house ruler, 12th house ruler together. This means that they will have some changes, some losses, some addictions, some issues in life where they could literally lose everything and then rise from there. So this will be one of those things that they go through some difficulties and then transform their life, because those are, both planets are quite young, so they could spend too much, get addicted, all that sort of stuff. But rags to riches if they use it well. And then for Leo Ascendant, this is going to be the money making planet Mercury, 11th and 2nd house ruler, now with the 7th house ruler. So actually just being in a relationship, creating that family changes their luck for them. If it goes into first house, will be amazing. And if it goes in the second house, is good. If it goes into the 11th house, is good. Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't really particularly like it in the 5th house, but it does create really good dhan yogas and Raj yogas and everything. But obviously it'll be very good in Taurus. Very good in Taurus. Very, very good for work. It brings they will make a lot of money. They could actually be in banking and finance, economists, that kind of thing. So it will bring lots of goods. Yeah, they do work really well, the two of them in it grounds them a little bit. It gives both planets more grace when they are actually connected to Venus in that way. For Virgo Ascendant, it's the 1st and 10th house ruler Mercury. Now it's going to be with the 6th house ruler. So actually Rahu breaks the yoga, and that can bring enemies, health issues, obstacles, health issues, definitely. So just be aware of that. And but if it goes it does get better with time, so that's one of those things that but obviously if it goes into the first house, it means that those diseases will be almost like self-inflicted, because not taking due care. If it goes into the 10th house, they could be in service industry, like a medical something in that sense, or it could be very much to do with technology, working hard behind, well, not necessarily behind the scenes, but yeah, working for the betterment. It'd be a job that they work really hard. 6th house is hard work, so they put lots of efforts into it, but they get the recognition for it in the end, that hard work. So Libra Ascendant, so this is going to be Mercury 9th and 12th house ruler and 5th house ruler, which is Rahu. So this is going to be pretty good. So if it goes into an angle, like 1st house, 4th house, 7th, or the 10th house will be really good. Clearly we don't want it to go into the 7th house, because both of them, like this situation, they're going to be quite agitated, and being in Mars' sign, it can give not being so discreet about in relationships and so forth. But they will be interested in foreign relationship. It could also, in some cases, you have to just see that maybe the person is might be bisexual or something, but you have to really look at all the nakshatras and other things in the chart too. But yeah, 5th house rulers, they could have really unusual children, or they could end up having maybe partner could have been married before, they bring a child into the family or something of that nature. Yeah. And I think it works really well in the first house too. So it's amazing. As in certain houses will work really well. If they also go into a second, which obviously is going to be Scorpio. So, but also into like ninth house, which is Gemini, that will be really amazing. Actually, in all fairness, that's probably going to be one of the better ones to be. So, but it might give you issues with father because Rahu is a natural malefic. Or your dad could be a stepdad, come into your life a bit later. And let's go back. Scorpio Ascendant, this is going to be like your 8th and 11th house ruler, Mercury, and 4th house ruler, which is Rahu. So it could be that the mother could have had health issues, constantly changing your home in that situation. Could have been, because 8th house is accidents, 4th house is a car. So just be careful when you're driving. But you could also gain something from your mum suddenly. It could be inheritance from your family if it's in good condition. But there's some sort of thing about, like suddenness, transformation through like gains. Your gains could be up and down, that sort of thing. But if this happens to be in your 8th house, in Gemini will be really good. Mercury does amazingly well in the 8th house. It'll be good in the 11th house. You'll have a lot of friends that you actually gained from them too. And also, obviously, it's although 4th house, Rahu can give like an unusual mom. It could be that the mother has suffered, because it can give you that sort of mental instability, sometimes instability, I should say. So it could be that until they really get their thinking process right. So, but they will both be in good condition in there. So yeah, not too bad. And if they go into the 5th house, that will obviously, what we'll do is Mercury will be debilitated, but it will be protecting the 11th house. Yeah, so that will not be great for the 5th house. And you definitely don't want them to go into the 6th house, because that will break any good yogas. So now for Sagittarius Ascendant, this is 7th and 10th house ruler, Mercury, now be the 3rd house ruler. So you know that there's going to be quite a lot of effort put into their job, put into their relationship. Their work could be to do with the artistic things, 3rd house stuff, music, arts, self-expression, writing, avid writers, that kind of thing. And or they could be advisors, or they could meet their partner at work, but they'd be very chatty with their partner. And multi-talented as well because of work. As long as it doesn't go into the 6th house, that should be pretty good. But if they go into any trinal house, particularly if that trinal house is, for example, Leo, that will be really good. And in the 1st house will be pretty good, because Mercury, although it doesn't like being in Sagittarius or any Jupiter signs, but because it's got that focus, it could do pretty well. But it'd be also pretty good in Libra. Very good in Libra. Okay, next ascendant would be, here we go, Capricorn. For Capricorn ascendants, this is going to bring together 6th and 9th house ruler Mercury and 2nd house ruler, which is Rahu. So that it's going to create problems with the family, 9th house dad, and 2nd house family, money, debts, all that kind of stuff. So 6th house is going to spoil things for that reason. So it's not going to be very good for them. But if it goes in the 1st house, the person themselves are going to have health issues. So we don't really want that. If it goes in the 3rd house, Mercury is going to be debilitated. Probably the best house for them to be, really, is going to be, if it goes in the 6th house, they get issues, but they'll be able to, but their work could be service job too, but they will be able to, Rahu will help them achieve everything they need. And Mercury does well in the 6th house. They'll be quite organized too. So yeah, it can be quite difficult. But it could be that if it goes in the 10th house, they are in the service industry or in litigation, something like that too. For Aquarius Ascendant, this is going to be like 5th and 8th house ruler together with 1st house ruler Rahu. So this is going to create wonderful Raja Yoga. If it goes in the 5th house, then it's going to create a Mahapurush Yoga for Mercury, so of greatness and success. It's going to be pretty good. So in the 1st house as well, Mercury is going to have directional strength. So it can be pretty good in many houses there. So it's going to be good in the 4th house, friendly sign to them as well. So it's going to be somebody who's like very like unusual family, but very friendly and doing fun things together. And in the 7th house, Mercury could also be quite good there because it's 5th house ruler in the 7th, likes to be in those signs, although Rahu doesn't like it. But Rahu will, you know, it's a shadowy planet. So, and then if it goes into the 9th house, they both do pretty well in that, but it gives you problems maybe sometimes with either your guru or your dad. In the 8th house, I think they do quite well because it's own sign. I like Mercury in the 8th house, and it can give you sudden gains too. And they're being very unusual. They want to learn secrets about everyone, all their friends, spying on everyone. And right, so let's see, for Pisces Ascendant, so this is going to be 4th and 7th house ruler Mercury, and now it's going to be the 12th house ruler which is Rahu. And so you know that they could have met the person, their partner, secretly. That's a secret affair. 12th house is secrets. Rahu is naughty. Mother could be unusual, so the mother could be like stepmom, or mother could have had had addictions, 12th house issues there. And if it goes in the 1st house, the person could themselves, as well as their partner or their mum, one of them could have had some sort of unusual thing about them. They could be foreign. So this will be quite good in the 1st house, only because Mercury gets directional strength, which is quite strong in all fairness. In the 4th house will be good, Mercury own sign. In the 7th house will be good. They could be quite playful, a bit flirty, just remember that. In the 10th house will be good because from there also both of them do well in this. It gives you loads of talents if it's in the 10th house, and it'll be aspect in the 4th house protecting it. And it'll be good in the 11th house. I do like them both in the 11th house, and it's in a friendly sign, so it works pretty well. It works really good in the 3rd house Taurus too, but they'll always be moving too, which is, that's one of those things. It works pretty well for people. Not too bad in the 8th house also because of the Mercury's way of dealing with the 8th house issues. So that's all from me today. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Thank you.